How often do you start a track and 10 minutes later you've tried 50 presets and none of them sound right? I've helped over 400 producers finish music they're proud of, and this is one of the biggest reasons good song ideas die already in the loop stage. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to let presets be your teacher so you can actually create sounds that fit your track. If you've been relying on presets for the past few months or years of producing, and I come along and tell you, well, just stop using presets and create your own sounds from scratch, we still have that issue that there's a huge gap between using presets and creating your own sounds from scratch, and we somehow have to close that gap. And so here's the fastest way to bridge that gap. Instead of watching generic sound design tutorials, you actually start from what you already know, which is the presets. So I created this loop, and on the bass sound, you will notice this is a Serum 2 preset. And this is nothing fancy, this comes with the stock presets of Serum 2, and the only thing I changed here is I brought down the main volume a little bit. So instead of using this preset as a crutch for our own lack of sound design abilities, what if we just turn this into our teacher? And by the way, I'll show this in Serum 2, but it works in any synth. Now, if you look at something like this, it first of all feels overwhelming, but here's how you break it down. You just need to understand three components: what creates sound, what modulates sound, and how can we manually influence sound. So what creates sound here? We have oscillator A, this is a wavetable. We have oscillator B, also a wavetable, and then we have this noise oscillator activated with a bright white noise. These oscillators seem to go into two filters that are activated, the filter 1 and the filter 2. And as you can see here, the noise oscillator is sent to filter 2, which is a high pass filter, and these oscillators here are both going to filter 1. And filter 1 is an EMS ladder filter. Now you can already see that this filter is closed down quite a bit here, and so there seems to be some modulation that opens this filter up, otherwise we would basically not hear anything. So the second question is, how is the sound being modulated? Now this is a bit hard to see on the surface, but pretty much any synth has some kind of an overview. So if you go here to this matrix, you will actually see what is mapped to what parameter. Once again, it looks overwhelming at first, but you can go through this one thing at a time. We won't go through this entire list because that would be a pain. We're just looking at, okay, what is opening this filter? And you can already see filter 1 frequency is being modulated by envelope 1. So we have a little bit of an overview. This first envelope is opening up that filter here, and those two wavetables are running through that filter. You can start playing with aspects of this here to get a feel for how the sound comes together. Just to give you an example, I could mute the noise oscillator and this second filter to take them out of the equation and listen to what are these oscillators into the filter sounding like without any noise. And what you could hopefully hear is when I activated the noise and the filter again, the sound got a little bit more transient information, so it is easier to identify that bass sound in the overall mix because a little bit of the high frequencies and this attacky sound is in there. And for someone who's learning sound design, this is a really cool takeaway. You now understand that I can add in a little bit of a noise source to give my sound more definition and to make it easier to stand out in the mix. Let's now test what happens if we deactivate one of the oscillators. Let's play this and then deactivate oscillator A and then deactivate oscillator B. This is interesting. Almost all of the bass sound comes from this oscillator, which is pitched down 2 octaves. And then this other one is just pitched down 1 octave, but it isn't really in the mix here. How's that possible? And this brings us to the third component, which is how can we influence the sound design manually? As you can see, the level of this second oscillator is brought down completely. And we have a lot of macros mapped here. Now, macros are just one knob functions that you can map to a lot of things at the same time. And if you go here to this matrix, you will see that just this envelope is the usual modulation here, and almost everything else is either macros or the mod wheel. Mod wheel is this thing here. So how can we figure out what happens with the second oscillator here? Well, you can right click on this one, go to mod source, and then you will see, a macro is mapped to that. It seems to be macro 3. All right, what happens when we turn macro 3 and what does this teach us? So this is called octave layer. So when I turn this, it looks like I'm bringing in this second octave. So this tells us that in its default state, we don't need that second octave, but in some parts where we maybe want to bring the bass more up front, we can actually automate this in and bring it into the mix. Now, interestingly, this sounds broader, and this is because of the unison setting here. This creates two separate oscillators that are panned to the sides here for the sound, two voices of this oscillator that are panned to left and right, and they also seem to be at least a little bit detuned, and they are blended into the signal here. Now, as you can see, you can detune them like this. Let's do some detective work. Is this third macro also mapped to anything else? So I'll bring this macro down again, and we'll go to the matrix and see that the macro 3 was just mapped to this one parameter. But as you can see, macro 1, for example, is mapped to several parameters. So it seems to be mapped to the filter frequency, the filter resonance, the envelope system, chorus effect, the wet portion, the envelope 1 decay, the distortion amount. So a lot of different parameters. The filter 1 drive setting. Let's hear what that sounds like. So this is a drastic change in sound that will help you arrange your tracks better and tell a story with your track. Because imagine this, like in a build-up part, you bring up this macro and then you bring it down again when the drop hits. Very, very cool technique. But we don't want to just nod ahead. We actually want to understand what's going on here. This is mapped to a parameter called envelope 1 sustain. So let's go back here. Envelope 1 and the sustain portion is being automated by this. And this brings us to one of the most important fundamentals you need to understand in sound design, and that is how envelopes and LFOs shape your sound. So at this point, you start to deviate from that preset and actually shape this to your own taste. So let's see what we can do here. This is what the macro does, but we could also bring the release time down and make it more plucky. And one thing a lot of producers don't realize is you can map LFOs also to envelope parameters. So let's say I use this first LFO here, and I map this LFO to the release time here. So this is cycling back and forth, but we could also say, okay, this is free floating here, and we don't even use BPM, we use Hertz, make it a bit slower. So the sound ebbs and flows like this. If you want to be really fancy, you can map LFOs also to macros. So let's say this first macro is being modulated by an LFO. So it's like we were changing this knob, but now the LFO does it for us. We can then go into the oscillators themselves and say like, okay, what happens? How does this change when I, instead of going for this square wave here, I just use something different. And so step by step, we're learning to walk on our own feet and not be as dependent anymore on whatever preset creator has put in front of us. And in the next step, I'm going to create a bass patch from scratch using these concepts together with you. And before we get there, if you started with finishing songs, I have a free gift for you. It's called the Finisher Framework, my 3 simple steps to finishing at least one great sounding track per month. You can get it at pickyourself.com/framework. The link is also in the description. And so the init preset is this starting point preset, which absolutely sounds horrendous on its own. We want to create a bass sound using the fundamentals that we've just learned. One of the core aspects was to pitch the first oscillator down. We could also just change the MIDI notes and bring them down, but we'll just follow this best practice here. So we have this pitched down 2 octaves. And what you'll notice here is there are a lot of oscillators from Eurorack modules or from classic analog hardware brought to this world. And so if you want to have a analog sounding bass, well, of course, it's a good idea to start with something that already comes from that world. So we can go to the Moog Model D here, for example. And the wavetable position is the different points that were sampled from this wavetable. So this overall gives us a lot of that like analog deep oomph. The only problem here is what we've learned about the envelopes. This obviously looks very different from the shape that we've just seen. So this has pretty much no release time. It has a very high sustain. And so how can we shape the sound here so that it starts to sound more pleasant, like the actual bass notes that we want to play? So we'll bring the sustain down a little bit. We'll give it a little bit of release time. Now remember that this was running through a filter, so we'll activate a filter. Now you could use the same filter as in the other preset, or we go for any other high cut filter. So I'll just stick with the classic one here. And remember that this first envelope, which is by default mapped to the overall output of this synth, is also being sent to the cutoff in our preset that we've looked at. You can go here also to the matrix and adjust these things here. As you can see here, this polarity is being in both directions with something like a filter cutoff opening. You typically click that it's only going to the opening direction like this. Now we had learned something about this noise oscillator, right? The noise was being sent into the second filter here, and they were actually using a high pass filter. Now, what you already know about mapping envelopes can also be applied to this one here. Yeah, let's say you push the drive a little bit on that noise that follows the same envelope as this. So overall, this noise becomes a bit more present and a bit more dynamic. Bring the level down a bit. Remember that the preset had this like upper layer in the bass sound? Let's try to recreate that. So we activate the second oscillator. Make sure that this is also running through the filter here, the first filter. And we'll pitch this just 1 octave down and not 2. And let's see what shape we want to use for that. So first of all, we bring it into unison. We can see how much we want to detune that, maybe just a little bit to begin. If I'm being honest, I don't use that many of the internal effects. I like to keep them separate in Ableton. This is just for workflow reasons. I like to have a good overview. But if you want to, for example, use macros, well, it's obviously a bit easier to do everything inside one machine. You could also collapse them to an instrument rack later on in Ableton with the external effects and create it in this way. That's also possible. But yeah, there's pros and cons for both workflows. And so let's do one thing that is still missing, and that is mapping macros. So we'll bring this distortion down, bring a little bit of that macro in. Now, once again, you can see in the matrix, the macro is being added to this distortion. So this is what it sounds like. We'll also bring that macro 1 to this second oscillator to bring that in. Now I'll bring this down a little bit and use more of that. So if you click this little handle, this decides how much you're sending from this macro. And we can also map this macro to the envelope, for example. So we'll push the release time a tiny bit so that the notes ring out longer when we bring this in. We'll also bring the sustain up a little bit. So, and this will create a really nice sound now. by the way, if you notice huge changes in volume that you don't want, you can also make up for that with the macro. So here, this is obviously a huge difference in the level. The easiest way to balance this is to counter map this first macro against the overall level. And you can do this easily by going to this matrix. You select macro 1, and then as a destination, you select from the global settings amp, which is like the final amplification. Keep this unipolar, but make it negative. So let's say 20% down or so. Once you activate the macro and everything else gets louder because this is pushed in, the distortion creeps in and so on, it will at the same time decrease the overall amp output of the synth. So now we have a more consistent sound. So now you know exactly how to get out of the preset trap, but this alone isn't enough to break out of the loop. So make sure to watch that video next, in which I show you how to use sound design as a tool to help you arrange songs quickly without getting stuck.